Muted.
Just welcome everybody. Good?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so hi everyone, thanks for joining the annual meeting, second screen FXP demo. We're going to hear from Ken with Screen XP in just a minute. We're going to go ahead and mute everybody's line. If you would like to submit questions while Ken's going through the presentation, please go ahead, and then we'll unmute folks at the end so that you guys can ask any questions that Ken doesn't cover in his demonstration. Thanks for all your time to get you through this call, all of the information in under an hour. And take it away, Ken. So we're ready to go.
All right. Thank you so much. We indicated in the invitation, if you're seeing on your GoToMeeting screen my main presentation slides, and then if you have a second device, a smartphone, tablet, or laptop, if you would take that device and go to the URL listed at the top of my screen, join.fxptouch.com/demo. This will show you what the attendees will see during a presentation. So if you would take out your device, you'll be asked just for your name and email. That helps us register the attendees and things. This can be done anonymously, but for our purposes, we'll be asking for your information. So please go ahead and do that. It'll be important. And then if you have questions throughout the presentation, when you have that interface pulled up, there's a question icon at the top of the screen that you can submit, and we'll address them in real time, along with doing a Q&A session towards the end of the presentation. So I can see a number of you logging in. I appreciate that. And I'll begin to just advance the slides, but I'll leave the link up for a few minutes just so people can continue to follow along. This is very much the same type of thing we do in the sessions that you'll be leading. Prior to the session starting, our moderator gets up in the room and just briefly describes what we're going to experience today. We put the link up on the screen and they can participate. We had, I don't know if any of you attended the sessions last year that used the platform. In fact, I'll ask you now. There's a thumbs up, thumbs down on your screen underneath the slide. If you attended one of our sessions last year using this technology, give us a thumbs up. If you did not, give us a thumbs down. And we're going to see in real time those results. And there we go. Most of you have seen the platform. That's fantastic. So this will make it easy, and we'll talk more behind the scenes about how you're going to use the platform. I'll put our key back up for just a minute. Most basically, you've logged in. You didn't have to download anything. And in your case, there will also be a link from the mobile app from the show that'll have a link that says this session is interactive. Just click here, and they can immediately click and see what's going on and get the interface that you see. As a presenter, there's a number of things that they can do to interact with you. You can be fairly passive in this and just ask a couple of polls or just share your slides, or you can be more active and interactive. And our coaches, we basically will work with you to provide you with resources on how to do this, and also some best practices and things that we've learned over time to understand what's happening with the platform and what we found works best to interact with audiences, etc. A brief tour of the interface here. The audience, we basically built this platform after spending 25 years in the presentation space, seeing people doing all kinds of things poorly, both kind of the death by PowerPoint trend that we see. We really feel that this platform gives presenters a real tool to help interact with audiences that are often bored or distracted, and the biggest distraction has been their mobile devices most recently. And so you might ask, how do we take an audience that's distracted with their mobile devices and give them a mobile device to follow along with? But we found that by giving them something to do, something that's interactive, something that gives them feedback, presenters that use the platform actually see on average about a 12% higher speaker rating than those that do not. So with the interaction they get from the audience is these few tools. You can click the pencil. When you click the pencil, you'll be able to see the slides that we've seen so far. They can't see slides that you have not shown them. They can only see slides that you've shown them so far. When they take notes, those notes are given to them with permission from the presenter with the slides. So they get an email with the slides. You can redact certain slides if you want to. Those slides and the notes help people take faster notes, because otherwise they're trying to type everything you put on the screen. In this case, because they get the slides, all they're typing is their context, and it's much more relaxing for them and easier for them to follow along. They can also ask questions, and like I mentioned before, you can ask questions, and in fact, if a couple of you would please ask a couple of questions, even if they're as random as where you're located or what city you're in or those various types of things, please go ahead, and I'll be able to show you that we can moderate those, and we train the moderators in the rooms with you to only push the questions to you that are the most broadly applicable. If you like, we can actually give you at the end, whether you're doing a panel or an individual presentation, we can actually give you a tablet or on the monitor in front of you in the room. We can show you those questions, or where appropriate, we might even show the questions up on the screen for the audience. And so Ryan is asking, how much does it cost? This is actually covered by the show, so this is provided to you, included in the experience that you're doing as a presenter, and ASLA and Freeman have partnered to provide this to you. How much time should we anticipate for the moderator to introduce the technology at the start? We don't actually take any of your time. We do it right before the session starts. We put up a slide in the minute or two leading up, and in fact, about 10 minutes before the session starts, we start telling people some basic instructions. This session is going to be interactive. Please go to the link at the top of the screen and log in. There's not a lot of instruction needed here. We've found that with minimal instruction, people follow along quite readily. Barry is asking, does this work with Prezi? The answer is yes and no. We don't support all of the zooming out to the devices that Prezi does, which I think the main reason for that is mostly bandwidth and various other technical issues. But what we basically do is we would work with you if you use Prezi to take each landing spot in Prezi, as it were, and provide those to the users, and then any interactive slides will be provided straight through the FXP Touch platform. But we can dig more into that with you individually if you choose to use Prezi. How has this program changed from last year? Not a tremendous amount. We have made the platform faster and more scalable. We've added a few more interactions and things. We've also added a little easier use for moderating questions and comments. And then we've built a lot of things on the back end just for us to automatically provide information and things to show management a little more readily. It's really been, this last year, been about scaling for larger and larger shows and making sure we have all of our pieces ready. Asking, does this require FXP staff to be present? At this show it does. We actually show up and staff for you, but we have shows where they use volunteers or presenters run it themselves, but we like to provide as white glove of a experience as possible. So thank you. Those are great questions. I'll actually show you in a few minutes, if you throw in more questions in, I'll show you the interface I'm looking at that can see those questions as they come in and moderate which ones we choose. One of the main things we're trying to focus on is how to really deliver amazing presentations. We talked a minute ago about this topic, but we've looked at the science of giving presentations and really found that our platform is one of the first that actually gives quantifiable data on how a presentation is going, both in real time but more importantly upon review. One of the best responses we got, and in fact it's on our website because we got such great response from ASLA last year, we had several presenters that were just really blown away by the amount of information we were able to provide and the insights from the audience and the tool itself to show them where their presentation was connecting the most, maybe areas that they could correct for the next time they give the presentation. And frankly, the kind of information, you've got a crowd of experts in front of you in your field that are your peers. Ask them questions. If you've got information that you want to crowdsource, polling information. We just did a scientific session with a very large group of food scientists this last week in Chicago, and we did a live consumer panel focus group with over 1,000 scientists and a large consumer panel in real time, taking questions, interacting, and polling. And most of the scientists said it was the best session they've ever been to. So find ways to not just share your expertise, but crowdsource the expertise from those around you. Maybe it's a topic that you've always wanted to know what everyone's opinion is on it, or perhaps it's even research that you're doing yourself that you'd like feedback from your colleagues on. So we're going to show how we do that. We're going to ask a few questions here. So how many of you have ever experienced a bad presentation? I ask this question every time, and I always quantify. You can't count this one. So all the presentations but mine. How many of you have ever experienced a bad presentation? And of course the answer from most of us is we've all seen bad presentations. But I'll demonstrate a feature of the platform if the users want. You'll notice that if you use this platform before, it's a little smoother perhaps than it has been. You can actually vote, and then the vote disappears so that they can just focus on the content. But if you want to change your vote, which I would encourage you to do just to see what happens here, go ahead and click the icon now in the upper left corner that's lit up red. And you'll notice the vote comes back, and you can change your vote in real time and actually see the results on the screen. We encourage presenters, and our documents for best practices show this, we encourage you to include a polling question fairly early in your presentation. Not only does it encourage any people in the audience that were hesitant, once they end up logging in right away. If they see that you're going to be listening, you're going to be taking feedback, and it's fun, they will participate at a higher level. But not only that, it kind of demonstrates to them what you're going to be doing potentially with other features. There's a number of different types of interactions, and I'll use this next slide just to describe what those interactions can be. This is a multiple choice slide here, and this multiple choice is probably the most common one used. The thumbs up, thumbs down is probably the easiest and fastest response. We limit this to 5 response options, A through E. This can be A, B, or A through E, but this particular response option, we limit it intentionally because if you give people too many options, it takes too long. And as a presenter, you all know what it's like when you're standing up there waiting for something to happen. And we are always responsive to make sure that this is rapid and easy to follow along with. So I'm asking you a question that you're answering what's your attention span? And unfortunately, our crowdsourced response from the audience is incorrect. Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour? The correct answer is actually 10 minutes. We worked with a renowned neuroscientist named Dr. John Medina, who's done a study for 25 years. As you plan your presentations, I encourage you to follow this. And if you're wanting to do some research, this is probably the best book for presenters that's not about presentations that I've ever seen. Dr. Medina talks about how the brain works and how using topics and as well as the natural patterns of the brain, how we can help people survive and thrive. And so the 10-minute rule we apply, if you've got 60 minutes, I would encourage you to break your presentation up, whether it's with polling, taking questions, or playing a video, or simply interacting with your audience, maybe even telling a personal anecdote. But when we get up and show photo after photo of work, or we show just on and on with the content, the attention span over 10 minutes begins to drop. And after 10 minutes, you can see by this graph on the screen here, it doesn't matter how old they are, what their education is, what their demographic is, what country they're from. Dr. Medina proves that this is just the way our brain works. With that, I'm going to throw a few things at the bottom of the screen that don't have much to do with the slides themselves, but they show the types of interactions. So on this one, a few of you are playing with this already. This is a slider scale that just says from not likely to most likely. What are this would be a statement you might make. All you do is we give you a template in the ASLA branding with the interactions built into it, and you can just add your copy. And you'll see again, here's the live results of that happening, and you can change your result again like we've been doing. But this is another sliding scale. You can do this on how many of you are likely to do X, Y, or Z? Or you could use our Likert scale for agree to disagree. So from strongly disagree to strongly agree is another option that you can use. And with that, there's a number of ways that people can respond. The other slides I'm just going to go through, and then we're going to pause for questions here in just a second. I'm just going to throw a couple of slides that give some examples. This one has the strongly agree Likert scale. And Ryan is asking, can the choices most likely, least likely be customized? No, they cannot. These are using data sourced. We're trying to keep our data consistent, and these are standard polling types of questions. So the most likely, least likely, and the strongly agree to strongly disagree cannot. But we can use a number of different types of responses that might yield the same result. For instance, I can change the one you're on from most likely to least likely to just a sliding scale of 1 to 10. I've had a number of people customize that by saying 1 means this and 10 means that. The other thing you can do, and I apologize because you're voting, and I'm going to take that vote and change it on you. It went from 1 to 10 to 1 to 5. So there's a sliding scale of 1 to 5 as well if you're playing with that. And now also 1 to 100. And believe it or not, even though these are really the same types of data, you will get different results. The narrower you make your choice, the audience will be. If you do the 1 to 100, you'll get very broad-based answers. If you do 1 to 5, you'll get very specific. And people, there is some comparative bias in these. People look at the 1 to 100 and see it as like a grading scale, and they associate that to their memories of high school or college. On 1 to 10, they typically are more harsh about their grading. What they rated as a 70% would be a failing grade in school, so they typically rate higher, whereas if they rate a 6 out of 10, that sounds pretty decent, or a 7 out of 10. So keep that in mind as you're asking your questions and the types of responses that you want. I'm going to show you with that the back end. This is what the tech in the room or the moderator would see. You'll just be given a normal clicker. You just advance through the slides as you go backwards, do what you need to do, and the tech will follow and do what they need to do. As you can see here how easily I can change we pre-programmed for the show all of the interactions you've chosen, but even on the fly, if I said, hey, what do you think of seeing the slides on your device? And I said thumbs up, thumbs down, that comes up instantly, and you'll see that as people vote on that, it's coming up. You'll notice a few things with the streaming to your device. There's a few things we can do. Number one, you can pinch and zoom. So for users that have accessibility problems, they can actually pinch and zoom and see the content. So play with that if you're on a phone or a tablet. You can also do it on a laptop if you want. If you pinch and zoom and we advance slides, though, you're going to actually see that it pops back out, so the user's not lost in some zoom like they would be in a normal browser. But this allows us to provide some accessibility. Inevitably, one of you, I'm sure, even though you know you shouldn't, will put an Excel document with tiny fonts on it up on the screen that no one can read, and in this case, they can zoom in and they can see the detail on those charts and things. It's very helpful. And not only that, when we push the slides to the devices, we found that it keeps people actually more focused because their phone is doing something and they're less likely to jump off and start checking their email and doing other things. This interface is showing us also, if you decided to choose and say, can you take me to another slide, I can skip. I just skipped a slide, for instance. The audience doesn't even know that I skipped it. It just automatically went to the correct slide on your device and to what would be on the projection screen. You'll notice right now you're not seeing my screen share here. This is just on the GoToMeeting, just to show you the back end. Your devices are still seeing the slides as I put them up. On this slide, though, you'll see another example of an interaction, and that interaction is just tap to type. You can actually just type whatever text you want. Ryan said blue, so that's a great answer, Ryan. Thank you. Blue. You can actually tap to type, and it gives them the ability to do an open-ended response. We don't encourage a lot of this because it takes time, particularly from people that are trained professionals people like in your professional group, they're a little bit more analytical, and they would probably take too long to answer something. But we typically will do this at the end of a presentation to say, do you have any additional feedback, and open-end that so that they can take a minute while they're gathering up their things and maybe answer more open-ended feedback for you or for ASLA. Going through a couple of other slides, we'll just kind of show you briefly what you'll receive from ASLA when we're done. We actually are tracking all kinds of engagement levels. I'm just going to briefly skip through some slides because I'm going to show you what happens at the end of a presentation. And you're going to get all of these slides in your email sent to you, which if you've chosen to allow that, you can redact certain slides or push all of the slides out, which is our typical default. And at the end of a presentation, when I stop the presentation, let me just do this, I'll end on a certain slide here. If I stop the presentation, you're going to see on your device rate the presenter. We've actually taken into consideration the type of content. So there's rating the presenter on the presentation itself, the first 1 to 10 there, and rate the content on a scale of 1 to 10. And when you do that, you'll see that maybe you are a subject matter expert that isn't worried as much about entertaining them, you just want to get your content across. You'll get a higher content rating, whereas maybe you really are polished and really love to present, and this is just your thing, maybe you'll get a really high presentation rating, and they may be a little more critical of your content. But that's why we have both of them in there, particularly for shows that involve medicine or technical engineering like what you have. We like to separate out, and then we aggregate those results. Once the presentations are over, we send you a result. This is an example. Immediately, we send a summary email to each of you as presenters. Here's how your presentation went. Here's what the audience rated. Here's the results of your polls. This is a PDF that I'm viewing through here. If there were any questions that were asked by the audience, whether you answered them or not, or whether we moderated them and chose not to do it, we only chose the most broadly applicable. I believe last year at ASLA we had a few very specific questions, including people that were wanting internships and various things that obviously we didn't address in the room, but you do have the email addresses and the names of those people, and even which slide they asked it on, which particular slide inspired them to ask that question. Same thing with comments and tweets and things from your system. We track all of that. And if you are more of a data geek and want to look more deeply at the information, you can also get an Excel document that's neatly broken down into attendance and responses and things. All of this comes from ASLA, and so they go through and we work with them to distribute the content to you as we go. So that's the Blitz. I did that in just under 30 minutes here, but we want to also take some time and kind of banter a little bit with the ASLA team as well as you to answer your questions. The process will look something like what we're doing here. We started with a webinar. We'll provide an additional webinar as we go here. You'll be given a template from ASLA that you can use to fill out your PowerPoint deck and get things ready. And from there, we really handhold you through the process. If you have questions, they are directed to me and my staff. We'll have someone get in touch with you via email with all of the results, best practices, video training, etc., that you can use to really engage with us. And we want to make sure that your presentations are really easy for you to deliver and comprehensive in the results that we provide to you. So that's the very basics. But Emily and team, is there a additional things we want to go through? And also we'll take questions from the group as we go here.
Thanks, Ken. This is Susan. I would definitely love to give everybody a chance to be unmuted and ask you questions specifically. What we will ask is, following this discussion, we'll send a recording of this specific presentation out, and we're going to ask everybody to confirm by the end of next week that they do in fact want to move ahead with second screen. and from there we will share next steps and information that Ken provides to make sure you have access to them for questions, access to us, and everything you need to go ahead and get started. Ken, thanks for that really great overview and look into how this will work. And with that, I think I'd like to unmute folks and give them a chance to ask any further questions they might have before we wrap up. Anybody?
Hey, this is Barry Fagan. If we do a question early in the right off the bat, do a little survey, and then toward the end of our presentation want to contrast the findings of that survey with maybe taking the survey again to find out what they've learned or show them what they've learned during the presentation. Is that possible to bring up the results of the earlier survey?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's actually a really good insight. We do that quite a bit. We'll challenge the thesis maybe at the beginning, what's your level of understanding or comprehension, or maybe even ask a question that leads them to, you know, a common misconception that you're going to overcome with your presentation. And then we ask it again at the end, and we show the first results, and then we show the results after the presentation.
Great.
Great question.
Ken, Ellen asks, is it still necessary to use workarounds for PowerPoint animations?
It is. This is really a bandwidth thing. It's not a technology thing. It's just about sending all the animations out to the devices. But the rooms, I guess I'll direct to you, Susan. Will we have a similar room configuration that we had last year with the AV provider and their equipment? Basic, I'm asking, is it the same as last year?
Yes.
Then we are providing some options if there's either videos or embedded things into the presentation. We can work with the presenter to accommodate some of those things. So don't make this the reason why you can't use the platform, but we can help you. The equipment that's been provided for these rooms gives us the ability to maybe switch to another computer to play a video or do more complex animations, and then come back to FXP Touch just for the various results. For simplicity, we recommend not to do it, but if it's a requirement, we certainly want to accommodate what we can.
Ellen, does that give you what you need in terms of feasibility?
Yeah, that was fine. It was just a little bit flustered last year. Luckily, we did the practice the day before, so I had enough time to go back, and the person that had last year, I think David Haas, he showed us how to do that. So, you know, we had it took about maybe a half hour to redo the presentation to take out. I didn't have very complicated animations, but it was an extra step. So it's good to know beforehand, so I don't, from the start, not put animations like that in.
Okay, good. And you'll be in great hands with Ken as well.
If you want to do list builds and things like that, it sounds a little clunky, but it actually on the devices and on the screen looks quite nice. Make your list and just make it, if you have 3 things that build, make 3 slides and let it build that way. It's a little bit old school, but it actually ends up looking quite nice as it fades between them.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. We did that last year, and it worked just fine. We did exactly what you just described.
Okay, good deal.
And Ellen also raised a topic here. There will be on-site support in the speaker-ready room, as there was last year. So once speakers arrive on site, they can report to the speaker-ready room just to run through their presentation one more time with Ken himself from FXP Touch, just to make sure that there are, that there are no kinks or bugs that need to be worked out.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend that.
Do we have any other questions at this point? right, well then, following this, again, as I said a few minutes ago, we will send a recording of this in case you want to share it with any of your fellow co-presenters who were not able to join the call today. You are always welcome to direct questions to Emily and myself at speaker@asla.org, and we can also put you in touch with Ken with questions that we're not able to answer directly. And Ken, it sounds like you'll have some other information to send to speakers who confirm they would like to move forward with using second screen, correct?
That's correct. Once we get the list from you, we'll pull the emails and send them out. The best practices, some videos, and some documents that just kind of help them in their prep, and then we'll work with you. We're going to update a little bit. For those that have already started, it's fine, but we'll also give you some new options that if you want to look at our a new PowerPoint template. But it's easy to switch over. It's just some new options that we found are easier with speakers sometimes. We just released.
Great, fantastic. Well, with that, I want to thank Ken and all of the speakers who joined us today and who are thinking about doing this. We encourage you to do so. We had tremendous success with it last year, and it looks like it's something that will be helpful to you as a tool to deliver your content. We're happy to work with you to make it a reality, and we'll look forward to being in touch with you all in the coming weeks as we lead up to the annual meeting in New Orleans. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.